Okay, so I got a question. I haven't done an Ask HershNoeie in a while, but we don't really get a lot of questions anyway in terms of Ask HershNoeie. So anytime you guys have a question or you want our opinion, then definitely send it our way and we'll give you our opinion. But someone asked a question if what makes a person successful on YouTube? And that's a pretty broad question because it depends on what do you mean by successful, right? To me, successful is a whole different ball game. Hold on, someone's actually sending me something, but I'll ignore that and do this. One of the ways of testing success, I think, for YouTubers is to go on socialblade.com. Now, this is not a shout out to Social Blade because they're a company, obviously, but really, on Social Blade, it's pretty accurate in terms of what a channel is doing, right? So when people say that they don't make a lot of money on YouTube, go to Social Blade and you're pretty much going to see what is reality, because it gives you the lowest that they make a year or per month and the highest that they make per year or per month. And that's generally about accurate. Now, they're going on a lot of assumptions, I will say, on Social Blade, because they're assuming that all of your videos that get views behind it are monetized, which is not always the case, because even though it's on YouTube, YouTube can at any point in time take that monetization off that video, or that channel itself may not be monetized at all, may not have the ability to be. So it's taking that into assumption, and it's also taken into the assumption that views equal profit, right? And that's not always the case, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, so so there's a caveat to saying that Social Blade is pretty much accurate. Social Blade is fairly accurate to a great degree, but there are certain things that make it a little bit not accurate. So when you see that range of the low to the high, I would say that that's kind of a ballpark as to what that YouTuber is going to pretty much make. Unless they're a YouTuber that has been banned for some reason, or the channel's been taken away, or they can't monetize. There are people I know of who have a huge following, but because they had so many violations, they cannot monetize a single video. I mean, they're extremely successful. They have a high viewership. They have a high view rate, large amount of subscribers, yet they cannot make even $1 off of YouTube. But when you look at Social Blade, it has them making a huge amount of money because it's basically going on analytics. But since they're not a part of YouTube, they don't know everything that goes into YouTube's algorithm, right? They don't know that. Here's the reason why I never really cared about subscriber numbers, right? Now, I'm not saying this to say, well, because what we have, we're not proud of that or happy about it. I'm absolutely happy with our subscribers. I was shocked that we even got 100 subscribers back in the day. And our channel has grown very slowly. And you have people who will say, well, how come your channel is not much bigger? Or how come it's not this particular size? Well, one of the reasons, and there's many, 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 many reasons as to why that's the case. But to be honest with you, I don't want a massive following. If it happens, great. But the bigger you are, the bigger the problems, typically. That goes even with people who are famous in Hollywood. When they're kind of like a D-list celebrity, you don't really hear much about them. But when they're an A-list, everything you do, if you fart, then people are going to sit there and notice. So you can't do anything when you're an A-list because everyone notices everything. Everything's talked about. When you're D-list, you can kind of, you may say something and very few people will pick up on it, right? It's a completely different thing. But with A-listers, you typically get more money than you do if you're a D-lister. And it's the same thing when it comes to YouTube, right? Whenever you're kind of well known, you typically are going to make more money than others. That's not always the case, because YouTube doesn't care about the number of subscribers. It's helpful, But typically it's just a bragging right, right? So whether you have 100 people or you have 100,000 people, doesn't really matter. It matters to perception, because people will think, and I've seen a lot of social, like people on Facebook talk about, some of the groups talk about certain channels that have this many subscribers and all of this. It doesn't really mean a hill of beans, because just because you have 1 million subscribers, that doesn't necessarily mean that 1 million people are watching you. Not all of those subscribers are going to watch you. Not all of our subscribers watch every single video. They just don't, right? It's never going to be the case for anybody. They're never going to watch every single video. But what makes a successful channel is the number of views and the watch time behind it. Okay? That is one of the more successful pieces to it. It doesn't matter if you get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Those are great if you want to give a thumbs up, but it doesn't really do any, and I've said this before, it doesn't really do anything to your channel. It's just basically saying to folks like, hey, if you give it a like, probably in your like, because you have a playlist, it shows up there, right? And other people will see, oh, a lot of people like this video. But it doesn't really do anything in terms of your success on YouTube. It does nothing. That's why you have some folks who are popular on YouTube and they don't care if they get 100,000 dislikes, because it doesn't matter. When you're smaller and you have if you have more dislikes than you do likes, that might be a problem, because then YouTube will say, well, heck, a lot of people hate this video, so it's not going to show up really in the list of things. So if someone searches for something on YouTube, you're not going to be in the top scroll category. You'll probably be way, way behind a bunch of people. But other than that, it doesn't really hurt you. So a lot of times you'll have haters who will try to thumbs down a video, but YouTube knows that happens, so it doesn't really affect you. What affects you is watch time. And I've seen people who have a huge number of people and they have a huge amount of views, but there's a thing that I talk about that says, are those quality views? Because what I consider a quality view is a view where someone watches a video for a good length of time. If I watch a 10-minute video, if there's a 10-minute video and I'll only watch 30 seconds of that video or a minute of that video, that's not a good view duration time, because you have 9 minutes that basically that person didn't care about. Or if they skim through, then pretty much it shows that that video is not going to be as successful, right? Whereas if you have a 10-minute video and the average time is around 5-6 minutes, then you're doing a lot better, because the view duration is much higher. And so therefore advertisers are like, wow, this video has a pretty high view rate and a huge amount of time in terms of gathering people's attention, or gaining their attention, or keeping their attention. You're able to do that much more successfully than others. So those videos and that YouTuber becomes more successful over time. It's a building process. And one of the reasons why we never do clickbait, there's things we can do to make our channel inflated in terms of subscribers. And what I've learned with YouTube is I watched a lot of people back in the day, and I still do. But I watched a lot of people back in the day and how they grew their channel, and those folks are still around. A lot of them, because they did things correctly. So I tailored this after some of them. And one of the things that they've never done, even up to this day, is have clickbait. Clickbait is death on YouTube, because you may have some people who will just automatically subscribe to you, and some of those people are subscribing to pretty much hate on you. You will have some people who will jump on that because they think it's funny, but you're never going to have those same people continually watch your videos for the full duration, or even half of the time, because they're there to either hate on you, or they're there to get that fix of funny. There's no true substance behind what you're trying to convey, and that carries through. We never do pranks, because you always have to do pranks. Unless your channel is based on pranks, there's no reason to do prank videos, in my opinion. Now, people can do whatever they want to do, but I'm saying for us, we never do those pranks. Because again, people are going to come to your channel, they see the prank, they think it's funny, and they subscribe. Well, if every other video you do after that is something that is not a prank, they're not going to really watch. Now, they're still in your subscriber list, but they're not really watching your videos. Or if they do, they watch a short amount of time, and then the rest, it's not interesting to them. Another thing, if your video doesn't have, if it doesn't get straight to the point, I'm one of those types of people where I need my attention grabbed instantly. If your video is so long and drawn out, and then literally by the middle of it or towards the end, you get to the point, people aren't going to be interested in that. So you may have a huge subscriber list because people are like, oh, the topic's cool. But by the time that they get to the meat of what the thing is about, and it's just 30 seconds. So you make a great title, and then it takes forever to get to what you're talking about, and then it's only 30 seconds of like a 10 or 15 minute video, then you're not going to capture their attention. They're not interested. So then guess what? They basically become a follower who only watches a little bit, or they skim through the video. And so you're not going to be as successful. Me personally, if a video doesn't capture my attention, just like a movie, when I'm on Netflix and it doesn't capture my attention, boom, I go on to the next one, because it has to grab me, or it has to be something that's really interesting that builds, and I'm like, I'm there. I look at YouTube the way that like cities. Okay, let's use this area for example. You have Tacoma and you have DuPont, just to make this easy. Tacoma is a city over 200,000 people, and DuPont's only got a few thousand. I forget the exact number, but they have a few thousand people. Okay, so Tacoma is by and large much bigger than DuPont, but is the quality of life better in DuPont or in Tacoma? I don't mean to take a crap on Tacoma, but DuPont you're going to have a better quality of life. It's just the reality of it. So even though you have smaller people, the quality is better than in a bigger audience. It just is. Are there more things to look at in Tacoma? Yeah. When you look at Tacoma and you look at these channels that have hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers, there's tons of things to look and see and do. And I look at the subscribers as if they're citizens, right? They're just like me in Tacoma. I'm a citizen of Tacoma. I represent part of that 200 and something thousand, but I'm not always going out here looking at museums every single time, right? When you look at your video views and you have people who aren't subscribed to you, but they just check and they find something interesting, they're kind of like the tourists of the city, right? They come through, they're not living there, but they see an interesting topic, or in the case of Tacoma, they see a museum and they stop and they check it out, and then off they go, right? So you kind of want to have, as a YouTuber, a lot of tourists, because that is key. Your subscribers are great, nothing wrong with that. But if your subscribers are not engaged, if your citizens are not out like they are in DuPont, enjoying DuPont, going around DuPont and spending a lot of time doing different things, in other words, not spending a lot of time on your channel, then your channel is not going to be as successful as it could be. You're not going to get as much money as you possibly could get. You're not going to get as much engagement as you possibly are going to get, quality engagement. You can have tons of comments, but that doesn't mean that your channel is successful. It just means that you have people in the comments sometimes battling back and forth. That's not quality, right? That's just people battling back and forth. You know, when you have people, and we don't have this problem yet. Again, we're a small channel, but most of the people on our channel are people who really and truly, for whatever reason, they want to watch us, and we appreciate that. So our comments are typically reflective of what we do, right? We treat YouTube as a business, and we treat it in a way, not in terms of making profit business, but we treat it like someone would a business. We want to be very ethical, honest, and upfront. And so as a result, most of the people that are on most of our subscribers are exactly that way. You, as a content creator, you set the tone, right? You set the stage, and then everyone that's there pretty much will react the way that you've set the tone and the stage. So if I came on here and had nothing but negative stuff, then guess what? All of the comments will be negative stuff. You may have someone that will put something positive in the comments every now and again, but most of the comments are going to be negative. If I comment in here and I'm very controversial, then all of the comments are going to be controversial. If I come on here and I'm very positive, most of the comments are going to be positive. You do have your few haters. And a hater, if we're going back to the city analogy, are transients. Some of them will live in your channels. They'll be a subscriber every now and again, and then they'll leave. But they'll come in to basically harass and do what they do. Right? Just like a transient. No offense, but just like a transient, right? And so they don't really add value to the channel whatsoever, but they're just there. They don't take away from the channel and they don't add to the channel. They can take away from the channel if you allow it to happen. So I don't allow certain words. We don't say certain words. I don't allow certain words. I don't allow the back and forth, going back and forth, because it's not needed. And also, you have to have a thick skin. To be successful, you have to have a thick skin. There are some YouTubers who won't say certain things because they don't want to alienate or feel like they're alienating certain people. You know, even though their message is good, they feel like, well, if I say this, then these people are going to be offended because I'm not including them. You can't really do that because they're going to be upset and offended regardless of what you do. People are going to either hate you or like you or don't have an opinion of you one way or the other. That's where it is. So no matter what you present, you're going to fit in those three categories. Either they love you, hate you, or they don't really have an opinion of you. And so if you're constantly trying to, cherry pick what you're saying, now I do that when it comes to certain things because I don't want it to be negative and I don't want to say curse words. But when it comes to a message, I'm going to say what I want to say. And if you don't do that, then your channel starts to look like it's not authentic. If you do the clickbait, if you do the pranks and you don't keep them up, or if you basically are allowing a lot of things on your channel that don't really reflect who you truly are, it's going to come out. People are going to see through that. I don't portray that I live in a palace with 90 rooms and we have an estate that has, a helicopter pad. Because people are going to see through that. I want them to see the junk in the back. I want them to see, sometimes the random booger that's there. This is who I am, right? I want them to hear how loud the kids are and chaotic it can be because that is the reality. It's not a false narrative that people can see through. If it is, then what they're going to do is not watch your channel. And I know of a person who's here in Seattle who has a channel. She doesn't know me, but I follow her. And her channel is very authentic. And she was talking about, I don't want a super long video because I want to keep people engaged. But because of the way she carries herself, not only is she pretty and she's attractive, and that keeps people, obviously, but her message and what she talks about is so positive that she's going to keep people's attention. So her channel is successful. She doesn't have a huge amount of people as far as subscribers. She's got more than what we do. But she's not like having buku numbers of people. But her engagement is there. And her views are there. And her watch time per views are there as well. When you look at our channel, we have 522,000 views. We only have 2,500 subscribers. I know of channels that have double the amount of subscribers and half the amount of views. I know of channels that had 100 people. They now have 2,000 people, but the number of daily views are still the same as when they were 100. It had changed. So it's all about keeping people engaged, and it's all about keeping people's interest, and it's all about being authentic. If you're going to be fake, your days on YouTube are not going to be that successful, and they're going to be limited. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people on YouTube that have been wonderful people and have been great people, and they have they have a nice attitude, but they don't have a thick skin, right? And unfortunately, their channels go away or they shut them down because they're just too genuinely nice people. Like I know many YouTubers that are no longer here, and unfortunately, they allowed trolls and other people to get to them. But that's the world. The world has good and evil. You know, and I guess because I'm much older now, I can handle it. But I'm the type where I don't give a damn what people may feel or say or think of me. Don't care. Because again, either they're going to hate you, love you, or they don't have an opinion of you. And if they hate me, there's nothing I'm going to be able to do that's going to change their view. There just isn't. My job is not to, because there's people who look like me that still hate me. Right? So my job is not to sit here and try to make one particular group or several folks or people who look like me or don't look like me or whatever. I'm not here. It's not my role in life to make anybody happy other than my family and myself. Right? And if I happen to make someone smile or be helpful or whatever along the way, then that's a bonus. That's great. My job is not to try to hurt anybody or make anybody feel bad. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and kiss somebody's butt or try to create a false narrative to make someone else feel better. I don't have time for that. Too old for that too. So anyhow, sorry that this video is well beyond 20 minutes. I didn't intend for it to be even that long. Hope you guys are having a great, what is today? Wednesday. And I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you for asking the question. That's my opinion as far as whether or not how to be a successful channel. I hope that wasn't confusing. Hope you took some things away from that. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.